Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So we're going to be starting on the Bavsound Stage 1 upgrade on my BMW 328D wagon right there behind us. So we're actually going to do a three-part project. The first part is going to be installing the Revenant Amp. And then the second part will be installing the Ghost underseat subwoofers. And then the final part will be installing all the door speakers. I'm definitely looking forward to this install. It's such an amazing opportunity that I was given by Bavsound to be able to work with them and give you guys an install video for the F chassis, and at the same time upgrade my factory sound system. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. So let's get started. Guys, here we are with the Revenant Amp. Let's open it up. Let's see what we get in the box. So it looks like when we open it up, instructions on how to set it up. Let's put that aside. Let's see what we get right here. So looks like we get a wiring harness that I believe this is where you plug your factory connection into, and then these two leads on right here plug into the amp. And then get a little baggie with 4 screws. And then we get this mount. Now this mount, this is what you're going to mount to the bottom of the Revenant Amp, and that way you'll be able to slide this onto the factory amplifier bracket. And then last but not least is the amp itself. Wow. Let's see what outputs we have here. Wow, I'm really surprised at the different outputs that are on it. Okay. So this is where we'll be plugging in that wiring harness that plugs into the factory amplifier plug. The quality is definitely impressive. Made in Germany. So the first thing we need to do to get started on this install is to remove this piece right here, the cargo cover. So in order to remove it, you lift it up, and then see right here, it's got like a little edge right there. So go ahead and push that up. That'll release that one. Now the next one, kind of do the same thing. Push that up, and then that. And then we'll be able to move this out of the way. Then you can just set it to the side. So the next thing we need to remove is the first aid cover. So set that to the side, and now it's going to expose, for the F31 chassis, it's going to expose the rear hatch motor. But if you have an F30 or a 4 Series coupe or a sedan, then you probably won't have this. But this regardless, you'll need to get to access this area. So then now, let's take our Bavsound toolkit. And all these nuts are plastic, so you'll be able to just literally take the 10mm socket and extension and just turn them by hand. So you're going to want to start with the motor if you're in a wagon. Take those two off. And then once you've removed those two, you can grab the motor and lift it up like this and pull it to the side. And then the next step is you're going to want to take off these two 10mm plastic nuts. once you have the two nuts off, then there's going to be a tab right here. You're going to turn it counterclockwise and make sure it's at 12 and 6. There's another one right here. Do the same thing. And once you've got those out, this piece will just come right out. And then it'll expose the factory amp. Now that we have the factory amp exposed, first thing you probably want to do is go in here and disconnect. Move my light out of the way. Let's go ahead in here and disconnect the factory clip right here. So the first thing you're going to do is just push it in, and then if you push it in, it'll unlock, and then just start pulling this, and then it'll pull and then you pull it completely out, and then set the harness to the side. And then now, once you've got the harness undone, take that same extension with the 10mm socket, and there's actually one bolt holding the whole thing in. So as you can see right there where my finger is, right there, that's the 10mm bolt that you're going to undo. Now that we have the nut out, what you're going to do is you're going to grab the back of the amp and you're just going to push it forward, and it's going to pop out. And so now to get the factory amp out, just kind of push it to the right and then lift up. You're going to have to wiggle it out a little bit because it's going to be, there's not much room there. There you go. Yeah. And you'll be able to pull it out. Once you have the amp out with the factory bracket, what you're going to do is you're going to take an 8mm socket. We're going to get this off right here. It's barely on there. Alright, once you have the bolt out, you'll be able to just slide the amp bracket away from the amp. And so we're going to set this aside because we're going to need that again. Now once you got your factory amp removed from the amp bracket, go ahead and get your Bavsound amp, and when you install the bracket piece, make sure that the plugs for the wiring harness are facing forward, and then that this part where you bolt onto the bracket is on the right side. So then once you do that, you'll be able to get the factory harness, and make sure to line up these grooves right here. And once you get it in, just slide it into place like that. And take your 8mm bolt, down. All right, now we've got the Revenant amp installed on the factory bracket. So now the next thing we're going to do is make sure to tuck the factory wiring harness up out of the way. And then let's take the Revenant amp, slide it back in here. Once you got it back in there, just slide it in, and then once so make sure to line up that piece, that bolt right there in the back where we bolted in. That one right there. And then once you got it lined up again, what you're going to do is there's these 3 little tabs right there. You're gonna grab the amp and slide it back, and that's it. That's all that's needed to get the amp bracket back in. So then take the nut back. Probably be easier to plug in the harness to the Bavsound amp first. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that back. We're gonna take the big one. Get the big one and plug that in first. Push it until you hear the click, and then next we'll take the smaller clip which goes right next to it. Plug it in until we hear the click. Alright, now that we got the click, we're going to take the factory harness and the Bavsound connector, and make sure when you're plugging it in that it's flipped this way. And grab your Bavsound harness and just make sure to line up everything. Alright, once you've got it in there, all you need to do is just pull this down and it'll click, and then we can push the harness back over there. That's it. That's honestly probably the easiest amp install I've ever done. And now what we need to do is we need to go power on the car, make sure, or put the car in accessory mode, and let's make sure that it's coming on. Once you've got the amp installed and you powered on the car into accessory mode, you're going to see a green light come on right there. Now, if you have all your factory components, you're going to leave it. You need to make sure it's green. But if you have like the door speakers and subwoofers installed, then what you're going to do is you're going to right to the right of it. Let's see if I can do it with my other hand so you guys can see. So right to the right of it, there's a button. Hold that down. It's going to blink twice and let go. And then it's going to turn to orange. When you do that, it's got different tuning on the amp. Only have it on orange if you have Bavsound door speakers and subwoofers installed. If you're still running on your factory components, make sure it's on green. So to get it back to green, just hold it down again and blink twice. And now it's back to green. So that completes the install of the Bavsound Revenant amp. So now all you gotta do is put everything back together. Alright guys, that's going to conclude today's video of the Bavsound Revenant amp install. If you have one of these cars, or even just any BMW or Mini, definitely consider checking out Bavsound. I can already tell right off the bat there's a huge difference as far as the bass and vocal volume just by replacing the factory amp with the Revenant amp. So if you're wanting to really upgrade your sound system in your BMW and Mini, definitely check out Bavsound. They'll be able to help you with anything you need regardless of what factory sound system you have. And if you guys enjoyed the video today, definitely consider subscribing. I'll be doing more DIY videos with this car as well as my E90. Hope you guys have a great one.